Okay, so we're making some Japanese plum jam. We are more or less going to follow the recipe on this one, I think. So I'm just cutting up these jams right now, or cutting up these plums right now, and just into chunks. Once that's done, then we will make some jams. Alright, so here we have our plum jam. This is the Japanese plum jam. We've been simmering the fruit for about 10 minutes. The goal is to get it just to look kind of a little bit uniform and like it's kind of just coming together a little bit, so it just has a couple more minutes on it. Actually, you know what? It looks awesome. We're going to go with it. I have 3 cups of sugar here. We're going to take the pan off the heat and put the sugar on. That way it doesn't kind of crystallize or anything like that. That's not a good plan. Because if the sugar gets put on when the pan is over a ton of heat, then it can kind of crystallize and get almost like tiny little glass shards in your preserves or jam, which is not a good thing. So we're just going to mix this in a little bit, and then we'll put in the rest, and then we'll start the jam. I also saved the pits on this stuff. We'll put the little pits in a little cotton bag, and we'll be able to extract a little bit of flavor from the pits too. And then we'll take them out before we can the jam. So we're going to put the heat back on. We're going to start it to get to a medium-high heat to get it up to a slow boil as soon as all of the sugar is dissolved. And then we'll boil it until it passes a test for gelling that we'll show you. And then we'll can it. We have our jam to a little bit of a boil here, and I am just skimming off some of the foam. If you don't skim that off, it can kind of accumulate on the top of your jars when you can it, and then when you give it to someone it looks kind of weird. So this little skimmer I got at like an Asian food market, and you can get them at cooking stores, but they're super duper cheap at the Asian market. So alright, so we're going to test the gelling to see when we've boiled it enough so that it's sufficiently thick to be considered a jam, I guess. And you know, people get really, really excited or hung up or whatever on, you know, how thick should a jam be and a jelly and what if it's not exactly right. And I wouldn't worry about it too much because either way it's going to be good. And all that. So, okay, we have a plate that is frosty straight out of the freezer. It's been chilling for a while now, and we're just going to stir the jam a little. Take a drop, drip it on the plate, and see if it kind of mounds. And it shouldn't immediately be runny, which it's not, but we're going to let this go for just another minute or two before we take it off the heat. Perfect, it's not running. We're going to take it off the heat. And we're shooting for a 1/4 inch of headspace on these. So now we're just going to wipe off the tops of the jars with a clean wash rag. So the goal is to get these in here so that they're not touching each other, or when it starts rapidly boiling that they're not kind of knocking around on each other. So there's this little wire rack that holds them apart a little bit. We're actually going to hot water bath it for 10 minutes, not 20 minutes. Yum. We should try this too. This stuff is awesome. This is all the stuff that we skimmed off, and it's just like the foamy, syrupy jam that never was. And it's really hot, so don't burn yourself, but you can try this, and then when you put it in the fridge it'll be just like jam that's not so beautiful, but it's still totally delicious and usable. Look, it's like so hot pink. It's the perfect color. It's because the skins on those plums were just so perfectly red. Yum. Tastes like fruit candy. So there we have it. Plum jam. can see, this is a perfect example. There you go. You can see the jam is still boiling there, and it's pushing the air out, and the air is going to come up through that little bit of headspace there, and then it'll have evacuated all the air, and then when it cools just a tiny bit more, because everything's going to contract, then the lid will suck down, and then it'll stay sealed. Awesome. Just like that.